Welcome back to the channel. This is your boy Rich Latta here, back with another video. Big news in the world of women's basketball with Team USA, a controversial topic for a lot of folks I know that watch these videos, seeing how the ladies team played out last year. But in the news today, it dropped through The Athletic that Sue Bird would be taking over as the managing director of Team USA women's basketball. Now, previously, this was a committee that, basically was responsible for picking the coaches, the players, and caused quite a bit of controversy last year, obviously, by leaving Caitlin Clark off or not considering her, however you want to name it, or cutting her from Team USA despite great numbers, despite enormous popularity, despite the opportunity to really go on a global stage with, what she brings to the game. And this move lines it up to match the women's side on the men's side. On the men's side, the managing directors in the past, I believe, were Jerry Colangelo, and now Grant Hill holds that down. So they're like pretty much the point person. They go out there, answer all the questions, and select the players, and they're responsible for building this team year after year after year. So you want somebody that is very well liked. You want somebody that can cross bridges, that really won't be loyal to specific alliances. Now, whether you think, Sue Bird, I feel like Sue Bird is, definitely going to be a, there will be some UConnism in there. Like, they're always going to probably get a little bit of love on this. And UConn produces plenty of great players, but, this thing is UConn now, kind of. Before in the past, they'd be like, oh, Gino's the coach. You could kind of figure things out. Cheryl Reeve was pro coach, didn't really necessarily have all those, but probably had our own loyalty system that I think we saw display with some of her coaching decisions last year. The fact that Caitlin wasn't on the team last year, I think, drew enormous criticism, especially for the guard play. By the time the gold medal game played, nearly all the guards were unplayable, and Cheryl was having trouble just checking people in the game at a decent time. I can remember Sabrina Ionescu not getting in until about the third quarter, and they were just screaming for someone that could dribble, pass, and shoot. So let's take a look at the article here. So, as I said, Sue Bird to become the managing director for the USA women's national team. She's going to, basically be responsible for the rosters and the coaching staff. This is a huge, enormous achievement. She won 5 gold medals herself and is just known as a winner at every level. So shouts out to Sue for that. So somehow Nike is probably tied into all this as well. I don't know who Sue Bird had her endorsements with throughout her career, but, Nike is very hand in hand with USA Basketball. There is a little paragraph right here that I thought was interesting that they highlighted that feels kind of like a reframing of the story, and I want to look at the stats to kind of prove it. They said, alongly with nearly losing the gold medal game to France, the U.S. women's team was caught up in controversy leading up to the Olympics because Caitlin Clark was not on the team. The argument not to take Clark, a rising global megastar in the sport, was because she had not participated in many Team USA offseason functions. Also because there were women with more national team experience who had earned the right to play at the Olympics. Bird's presence doesn't necessarily mean the next Clark, whoever that may be, will automatically make the Olympic team during her rookie year, but having Bird as the face of the team could help smooth out some of the politics and also perhaps ensure that USA mini camps, a long tradition for the women's team, remain well attended. Now, I want to drill down even deeper on the part where they say the argument not to take Clark was in part because she had not participated in Team USA offseason functions. So, like, they left that in there. What happened to all that best 12 stuff that we were saying? That was clearly false. I think we can all kind of, swing the block back on that and, look and be like, y'all lied. You did not take the best 12. You took who you wanted to take. And that's fine. But I think the people kind of should be allowed to voice that with, better answers they were given. And then also those mini camps, they held those things during the Final Four. They knew Caitlin Clark couldn't go. They did not want to bring her on that Olympic team for pick your reason. So we'll just take a look at the statistical profile. So one thing that I heard, at the time was just, who are you going to take off the team? Let's take a look at the numbers before the first half. So you can see before the Olympic break, 17 points a game, 8 assists, 5 rebounds. Those would be great numbers themselves, right? If she just stayed at that. Of course, she came back after the Olympic break and went up to 23.5 points, 8 assists, and 6 rebounds. So, statistically, there is no, hey, we just didn't think she was good enough. So, I think the reframing of this is very interesting. Now, back to Sue Bird. She's going to have the responsibility to pick a new coach, because there's no way in hell that Cheryl Reeve can come back from that 1-point victory. They almost lost that game to France. Luckily, it was a game-losing shot that Gabby Williams hit. It's also time to start turning over the player pool as, the age on the team is going up. Obviously, Diana Taurasi was there. Several other veterans that are, 12, 15 years into their career. It's like you got to start getting all, the youth that's going to be popping in over the next 4 or 5 years. Your Caitlins, Angels, Paige, Juju, and, all the other young players, that are a couple years into the league. So the older players can be like Collier, Stewart, Wilson, like as far as like they're the very older side of the team. And those other roles need to start getting filled in with other people. Can we get Rakia Jackson put into the program? Can we get Cam Brink, good to go if her knee's all right? Are you pulling people from the 3-on-3 side to start trying to get them into the other side like Haley Van Lith? So Sue's going to have, some decisions to make, but ultimately I think this is going to be a good move for the Team USA women's team, just because it seemed kind of shrouded in mystery and like this club, and it could still end up that, as far as like being like this club that's impenetrable. And, I think that to even it out, like this is how the men's program works, this is how the women's program should work, and we have aligning visions. We don't have people answering questions like, why are we running it this way on this side and a different way on the other side? I would hope that this doesn't lead to outright tragedies like Caitlin Clark not being on the Olympic team. Of course, she'll be on the next one, but what happened this past year should have never happened. And I don't think people will properly admit this, but there should be people on the record, I feel like, because they were hiding behind anonymous quotes. There was a lot of just disappointing activity that compounded Caitlin Clark's rookie year, and that was probably the biggest injustice of them all. So never mind not winning, rookie of the year unanimously or something. That's like, something else. But what do you guys think about Sue Bird and, what her tenure as the Team USA managing director could be? Anyway, my name is Rich. I'm up out of here. One lifetime.